So it's about that time of year again, and as a wise man once said,
take that, rewind it back. Ludacris got the flow to make your booty go.
Yeah, that's been stuck in my head for about 3 months now, so good job, because now it's stuck in your head too. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another year in the rear view. It's just a little series of end of the year videos that I just do because they help me set goals and be accountable for the next year, and also help me realize the things that I've been doing that have been the most positive and the most productive and the most unique and helpful to me in my life for the past year, 365 days. I just can't wait for another leap year anymore. So for anybody who's new, that's basically what this video is. And also, if you are new, please consider like, subscribe, comment, and all the good stuff, and tell me what some of your goals are at the end of this video. Because for myself, I always like to do 8 goals just to keep it less than 10, basically. You'll see why in a few seconds. But with all that being said, let's get into some of the things that were done for the year and goals. Goal number 1 on my list, because these are in no particular order, they're just there the way that I thought of them in regards to writing this video and putting it together, because I actually write some of my videos sometimes. It's so fun, which is what goal number 1 is. Write more stories, and specifically I have a side goal right next to it: write 5 short stories, because after, and this goes into this pertains a little bit to goal number 4, which we'll get to, but after reading the Count of Monte Cristo for the second time and actually taking in the breadth and the world and the universe that that character and the characters surrounding that character were living in, I realized that I want to do something like that. So I ended up doing that. And after reading American Gods by Neil Gaiman, I did more of it. And during a 12-hour road trip from Florida to back home, basically, I just spent that entire day reading in the van, because we were in a utility truck. God, that day was a blur. Again, I was literally just in my phone writing and reading that entire time. So it kind of just flashed by me, but also I did pass out a couple times. But anyway, I read those 2 books, and I love the author's abilities for Neil Gaiman, and both Neil Gaiman and Alexandre Dumas. I love their ability to create such a lush and lavish universe by having the characters interact with certain things in the universe, but by not straight up just telling you what it was. And I was like, that is something that I definitely need to do for my characters in my stories. So that's what I ended up doing, and I loved it so much that I just kept doing it. And 3 months later, 4 months later ish, kind of, it was August, yeah, kind of 4 months later, I'm still doing it. I still have that creative groove to continue doing it, and that's actually something that I wanted to continue into the new year. The goal here is to write 5 short stories. I think I can get 3 done within the first 3 months, actually, because I already have the ideas down. I just have to actually get down to writing them. Luckily, that's what Google Docs is for, and I'm so glad that I was able to write down the ideas, give a title, give a synopsis, and right next to it have enough space to start writing. I hope you all are also doing something like that, because that's some of the funnest stuff you can do. Basically just read a book, get inspired by it, and then start writing your own stuff with some of the same literary elements and tools and devices that the author that you are actually reading, were reading, has allowed you to use now, and is allowing you to be influenced by it. So yeah, enough of goal number 1, because if I can I can sit on that and keep talking about that for like the rest of the time that I'm here, but I'm not going to. Anyway, goal number 2, design more solid character designs, and more importantly, redesign some old ones. Like the first goal, this goal is also related to another goal on the list. You're gonna notice a slight theme with this particular list of goals for the new year, because I started out the new year with ideas for character design, and I wanted to. One of the goals for this actual year was to make more character designs, or at least draw more characters and focus more on my characters so that I can have them developed, which again we'll go into goal number 3, which is I'm trying not to spoil it, but you probably see it in the description, so why not? Anyway, I loved creating and redesigning some of the stuff that I worked on when I was younger. And at this point, the exuberance and the spirit of creation is still burning to the where I have to like literally move to do something different with what I already have. So that's why I want to redesign and then design more stuff. But that goal right there goes straight into number 3, which is commission more artists. So this year I've actually commissioned about 5, 6. I have one more on the line now, basically. But I have about 6 artists that I've actually commissioned who have drawn my poster girl for the universe, but also my main character who I'm writing now, which are Max and Gwen. And oh man, they have really redesigned those characters in such a new light that I love. But also they've just made more. They've MCU'd the designs a little bit, which is kind of funny if you know what I mean by that. But I'm not going to elaborate. But if you know what I mean, you'll laugh too. But I love it so much. Literally seeing them, just like how I would read a book, seeing another author's creation, seeing another creator's creation of something that was already mine anyway. It just allowed me to look at it and be like, okay, let me do something like that, but let me do it slightly different. That's what I ended up doing. Again, goal 2 and 3 are basically intertwined. I just had to separate them because I really wanted to get 8 for this list, and I realized that I could if I just break some stuff up that I was already working on. That's how you cheat, people. That's how you get the word count in college. Goal number 4, as we stated in goal number 1, read 50 books, or at least it's a reading goal. So I kind of just said we were going to read books, but specifically it's read 50 books. This year I have missed a mark by about 7 or 10, if I remember correctly. I don't keep track of all of them. I just say read 50 books. So that's roughly 1 book a week and 2 weeks worth of overlap if I decide to do something else. I'm currently reading about 3 books at the same time right now. And I appreciate it because I saw a video about how you can actually read multiple books at once as long as you control the flow state that you have between each book, so that you can basically remember what you read, but also be able to reapply something that you read into another book or into another story. And it literally just helps you balance back and forth between different pieces of media, be it books or actually movies or comics, or even pictures, which is such a weird way to say it like that, but I didn't realize it until I started reading American Gods and started studying a whole bunch of other stuff that was related to religions and faiths, and I was like, wow, that is weird that these two are connected. And I've been seeing that a lot more. So anyway, back on topic a little bit. That's why I wanted to read 50 books. That's why the goal of reading is always going to be on this list. It might sound really arbitrary at this point, but I have no idea like how I'm going to get to it, but I'm going to get to it. I don't know. So I'll give a couple of reading recommendations, or at least book recommendations, because some of the main books that have actually influenced my creative ability and skills over the last year have been The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I really hope I said his name right. American Gods by Neil Gaiman. The Art of Dramatic Writing by Lajos Aguirre. I hope I said his name right. On Death and Dying by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And The Art of Noticing by Rob Walker. A lot of these books have actually just jumped out at me and have been recommended me through either podcast or my college professor's email, because he always had The Count of Monte Cristo in his email for the longest time, and every time I would see it, I would be like, that's an interesting book. I should read that. And I never got around to doing it, but I did about 4 years ago, and then I recently reread it, and it really influenced a lot of how I approach dialogue. And it actually served as the catalyst for a couple of stories that I wrote and am still writing now, that I use that dialogue structure in the way that Dumas actually tells his story in the book. The Count of Monte Cristo is probably the closest book that you can get to an actual video game, because there's so much stuff that happens. There's so many side missions and side quests and MacGuffins and things that actually convince you to move in a certain direction, even though the characters are still in the same place. But then there's another character doing all. It's such a great book. That's why it's number one on the book recommendation list. Highly recommended. American Gods the exact same way. I really don't want to get into that because I'll start spoiling that book. But just know that it really allowed me to reapproach how I did things in regards to storytelling for my own stories. And while I was in Florida, on the way back to Florida, I just decided to keep reading it and keep thinking about how the story was crafted, and it ended up influencing a lot of what I'm writing now. The Art of Dramatic Writing. It's a nice little book about storytelling and, well, storytelling back in the 1940s for plays and radio shows, but it also helps you develop a couple principles for characters, character motivations, character purposes, I don't know, anyway, and how they interact with the world, which is something that I'm looking at a lot now, but it also gives me a headache because it's hard to look at certain things when you need to do the thing. What I mean by that, you can't make certain character motivations until you start writing the character. And that's kind of what the book tells you to do. It's just that you're focused on the main principles of the book and not the book itself. Or at least that, maybe that's just me. Maybe I just can't read it properly. On Death and Dying was extremely relevant to me, honestly, because I actually lost a couple of family members this year, and the way that Kubler-Ross actually wrote the book and her position as a death assistant, because that's the only way I can describe her job, it really allowed me to be comforted just a little bit in regards to how the entire process of death and dying actually works, from her perspective at least, and how she portrays everything throughout the book. So weird, but it's awesome. And The Art of Noticing is such a weird book that really helped influence Goal 7, which we'll get to, and you'll notice that I say it a lot and that I refer to it a lot, so I needed to make sure that I said it. Also, I forgot the book for a few minutes while I was shooting this part, so you're gonna notice that. That's the 5 books that I really have kept in my back pocket for the last year, maybe even year and a half, because some of these books I've been reading for a while and I just either read for the first time or rereading again because I just needed that boost of creative storytelling that I never would have gotten if I didn't jump into it. There's a massive mix of classical and contemporary work in this little list that I gave you, and I'll link all of this in the description, or at least, do what I can. So other than all that, that's all I can say. Happy reading. Goal number 5, go hiking up more mountains. I always feel like the tagline for this should be to go take a hike, but I kind of wanted to be serious, but not really. After visiting Stone Mountain for the billionth time in my lifetime, but also for the first time actually climbing up Stone Mountain, or at least walking, you don't really climb, with my uncle and my aunt, I had a lot of fun just hiking up the mountain. And I just really liked the feel of the body having to work and climb up this mountain, and then the air getting thin, but not too thin, because Stone Mountain isn't that high up, and it kind of is, but anyway, it's not that high. It felt really good climbing up the mountain and going up it and taking pictures as I did it. I don't like too many other pictures specifically, but it just made me, pull out my camera and start taking pictures as I was going. So instead of taking about 10 or 20, 30 minutes to hike up the mountain, if you were to just run straight up, it took me about 30 or 40 minutes, maybe I think an hour actually, just because I kept stopping. And I did the same thing with my cousin and my brother as we were going around Kennesaw Mountain too. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And if I can find the time to get those videos together, I'll actually show them to you all, because I took a lot of pictures. I found most of the pictures at Kennesaw Mountain to be fun and moody and capturing and all that good stuff, but overall I just really enjoyed the act of getting active, and also being able to make some stuff and take some pictures on the way there. And as per usual, another little side goal inside of this was to go to a couple more national parks, because if I can go to some national parks, I might be able to act up a little bit more and get lost on the trail, kind of what I did on my second route on Kennesaw Mountain, but I'm not too sure. We were on the trail, but we kept going off the trail to take good pictures. Almost got lost like 2 times. Anyway, all that good stuff. It was fun. So that's goal number 5. Goal number 6, as per usual, travel more. I have no idea how to phrase this any more than I do with the book goal, but I have to, because the book goal is the same way as the travel goal. It has to be on the list because I have to travel. But I kind of said some places that I wanted to travel. I wanted to go up some more mountains, and I wanted to venture into some more nature reserves and national parks, just to take pictures and see all the pretty things that nature has to offer us while it's still here. I cry. But in addition to that, I still do want to travel a lot more. I took a trip to my grandparents, and while I was traveling, I literally was at the top of a mountain as I was riding down the road, and I could see all the other mountains around me in the valley that I was going into to get to where I was going. That image right there that I saw, it also had a crack in the middle of it because my windshield was cracked at the time. Anyway, all of that right there, it really gave me another travel bug. And with a lot of restrictions in the world being lifted, kind of, not really, kind of, I'm feeling a lot more confident with what could be done and the way that everything could go next year. I'm really excited for. Look forward to a lot of other different pieces of content, possibly maybe during the summer. I'm not too sure. It's going to be fun. I don't want to say too much because I'm still thinking about a lot of things, and I don't want to say too much out loud just yet, just because I believe that if you say certain things, you'll speak it into existence, specifically bad things. Because those good things, just all of a sudden you say something good and it just, whew, nobody hears that. Not even the good thing that you're talking about hears it. But anyway, I need to calm down. Goal number 7, continue adding value to my friends and family. Another arbitrary one that I wanted to add on to here, but it also helps me, especially after this year when I was being more conscious of it. I was making sure that I was actually helping people the way that they needed to be helped, because I realized a lot of people need help in very specific and different ways. And you never notice it until you start noticing it, which I've been reading a book called The Art of Noticing, or at least I read it this year. And as I've been noticing things, I realized I have a different style and I code switch with a lot of people in my life. I didn't realize it a lot more until, again, I started noticing it. This all came to a head last night when I was helping my sister with a couple of things, and I noticed that I needed to help her with a slightly different pace than usually what I would do with somebody else who would not necessarily be on my level, but was somebody who was used to working with me at my speed. That's just a small thing that's very helpful to me, because I didn't realize how much I needed to pay attention to how I need to help people, but now I am. Everything that's gone on this year, me getting into a car accident and me getting in and out of credit card debt, I was like, I can't trust people anymore sometimes. But also, I can. I just have to not do that anymore. But also, I realized I can't help everybody. So now, this year I was focusing on myself. So now I'm going to branch out just a little bit more. And I realized I do that in the even years and the odd years. Like 2022, I'm more selfish and try to do things for myself. So next year, going to be a little less than that. Or, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Getting back into photography towards the end of the summer, going into the fall, I started helping out and volunteering at my high school and teaching some of the yearbook club photography and videography as well, but we're getting into that later. We're going to be getting into that next year, or in a couple of days, depending on how this video works. I loved it so much, and it was teaching people, if you didn't notice, helps you learn too. But for anybody who hasn't taught anything, you might not know it just yet. But when you have to consciously be able to regurgitate, or not necessarily regurgitate, but be able to speak on something that needs to be spoken to somebody or spoken about to somebody, you have to realize that you need to switch up how you approach it, and you can't just research it and research and research. You need to be able to make sure that you can talk to people about it. So yeah, that's another way that I realized I had to reapproach people when it comes to helping them and adding value. I have to basically teach myself before I can teach them. But that's not the worst thing in the world, because I do that a lot. It's just that, again, like I said, with noticing, I noticed that it was something that I did a lot more this year. Goal number 8, develop my website. No, this isn't a segue into a Squarespace or a Wix ad. I just really wanted to develop my website, and it's something that I've been doing for the last 2 years, but I really didn't have the confidence that I have now to develop it the way that I wanted to. And with all of the rampant ads, the rampant ads for all of the same website development companies, I was just like, all right, cool, let me go ahead and get somebody's discount code and jump on this, because why not? So that's what I ended up doing. I went with Squarespace, and I just kind of actually like it. The templates that I decided on using, I have, decided on using. I have 4 templates that I'm working on. I still have like 4 templates that I'm trying to work through, or 3, I don't know, I lost count. I haven't looked at it in a day or two, so everything just left my brain. I want them to display all of my good stuff, but the problem is I need to gather all my good stuff. And that was one of the funny things that I ended up working with in regards to my portfolio. I really wanted to gather all my good stuff, but the problem is everything is all over the place. So I have to work on all that too. So yeah, as you can hear, as you should be able to hear, that was some of the stuff that I had to work with in regards to developing a website. It wasn't the website itself that I was worried about. It was me and me alone. But again, I have all the confidence that I need now to push all of that aside and work on it diligently, or at least as diligently as I need to. And you're going to see that next year. Well, I shouldn't say next year. You're going to see that very soon. How soon? I don't know, because I don't really want to say that out loud, because then all of a sudden I say that and I'm like, guys, you're going to see it next week. And all of a sudden I don't launch the website till 2027. Because that's the time I'm working on right now. I literally don't feel like how I should sometimes in regards to developing a website or putting something out into the world like I usually do, or usually want to. So I just have to be careful with that. But I'm saying it now so I can look back on this like I always do and say, you did it. I didn't travel as much as I wanted to, but I can say that about literally every year for the last 2 years, 3 years technically. Another one was honestly that I didn't hit my reading goal. I wanted to do 50 books, but again, 50 books is very arbitrary, and I just wanted to say I wanted to read a book a week. I wanted to at least be reading a book a week, even if it was the same book going into the next week. I'm not expecting myself to finish every single book each week, which is honestly why I started reading multiple books at the same time, so that I can implement them and all that good stuff. And that goes into what I was already talking about earlier in goal number 4. So it's a failure because I didn't achieve the exact number, but also it's a success because I found a new way of doing the thing. So I like that a lot more, and I'll count that, or at least I'll count that in my book. This is how you cheat. This is how you cheat, guys. Anyway, I had a lot more live streams this year, which I was happy for, but I still didn't start streaming on Twitch. But honestly, after everything that's happened on Twitch this year, I'm kind of glad I didn't start, because I genuinely think I'd be wasting my time, at least for the time being. So I'm happy for that. All of that drama, along with me streaming on YouTube the way I did, it did allow me to have a particular type of setup that I really liked. And it also allowed me to be able to figure out how to hook up stuff from my iPad into OBS and vice versa, along with a couple of other things that I really learned to appreciate that I was able to do during streaming. So again, a lot of these failures that I have for this section aren't really failures, but they're kind of missteps that allowed me to be on another path to success. Yeah, I like that. I'll keep that part. Anyway, I really liked all of those. And again, sometimes your failures are the best thing that you can learn from. But I failed a lot more this year than what I'm already talking about. But again, I've just been trying to fail forward, even if the failing forward means you fail on your face. As long as you get up, you're kind of good, That's just a little piece of side motivation for the rest of this, because I have no idea what else I needed to say. I mean, I did, but I forgot to add this part, so I wanted to add it again. So anyway, all in all, those are some of my goals for the new year. Hopefully you have some that are, kind of related to this. If not, cool. As long as you have goals that you want to start now, or at least that you have started and you want to continue into the new year, that's awesome. I'm glad for you. Good job. Good job. Hand clap for you, or a pat on the back, whichever one. Actually, I need a massage. Whichever one works for you the best. So with all that being said, please like this video, subscribe, comment below with your goals and things that you want to achieve that you are already working on achieving now. So with all that being said, I will check you all later.